Welcome to Modular Games. My name's Kyle. Today we're going to be talking about core mechanics for role-playing games, turn order, initiative systems. I have written out 6 initiative systems for my book, and I'm going to give you number 6. Now, I can't take credit for this initiative system because it was actually produced by another local creator in my area, but it is my current favorite. It is so simple. It is so intuitive. It is so easy to do everything in and keep track of, and it's always on. You can use it in combat, you can use it in negotiation, you can use it in exploration. It's always applicable. It's not one of those things where you stop the game and roll for initiative and then you figure things out for the next 5 minutes before you actually do anything. It's an always on system. So, enough singing the praises of the system. What is it? All right, so I'll go ahead and put up a card here. I hope you can read it back there. I'm not standing in front of it, am I? Okay, I probably am. How does the system work? Okay, you're going to go clockwise around the table. You mean like a board game? Yes, like a board game. You're going to go clockwise around the table. But that's not the special thing about it. Every player has 3 action points. And whenever any player, including the game master, declares an action for a character, whether it's a PC or an NPC or anybody else, whenever an action is declared, before that action takes place, you go around the table and you ask every single person, John, Mary, Susie, Franklin, do you want to interrupt this action by spending one of your action points? Gosh, that sounds like it's going to slow down the game at all. Turns out it doesn't, because you just go through and you declare your actions, and if anybody wants to interrupt, they have the right to say, I'm going to react to that. And if multiple people say they want to react to that, you go around the table and just see which one's first, and you know who acts first. There's none of this checking dexterity or some other stats. It's clear, it's precise, it's concise, and you know exactly how it's going to work. And because each and every person has the option to act on somebody else's turn, that means that you don't have to define, these actions or react. These types of actions have to be on somebody else's turn, and these types of actions have to be on your turn. Certainly you can have some kind of special ability that only works as a reaction, or some type of special ability that only works on your own turn. That's fine, but as a general rule, you have the complete freedom in a free-form system to do whatever action you want at any time. However, there is still a motivation to play by the rules and act on your own turn. So what is that motivation? If you actually take your actions on your turn, you get a +2 bonus on any rolls that you make. So, let's say it's a combat situation. Different strategies are going to benefit from using their actions different ways. If you're playing as an archer, then maybe you want to use all of your actions on other people's turns, because whenever one of those enemies runs over next to your allies, you're going to interrupt that movement and say, I shoot him in the face now. Okay, so you stop any enemies from getting anywhere close to your fragile allies because you used all of your actions on other people's turns defending them. That's a great strategy. Well, what about the barbarian? Well, the barbarian's probably going to wait for his turn, and then he's going to charge in and use all of his actions that he can to get as many attacks as possible and get as big a bonus as possible on those attacks so that he can just deal a ton of damage. Okay, great. Well, maybe the rogue does the same thing because they want to act on their own turn because they want to have a high bonus on the ability to hide, to sneak up on someone, to stab them in the back, and not fumble while they're using their sneak attack. You can think of all sorts of things. Well, maybe the wizard wants to cast Fireball at the very moment that guy decided to run past his allies so they're all in range at the same time. That sounds like a great idea. Maybe they cast Dominate Person right before they attack the downed cleric. That sounds awfully useful. You can see how this system allows for a lot of strategic thinking. And I can see how many people would be very concerned about people getting confused at the table, because if anyone is allowed to take as many actions as they want on someone else's turn, how do you really keep up with turn order? And the answer to that is, I mean, if it's really a problem, you can use an initiative tracker. You just pick up a small stone and you say, it's your turn. Okay, shift it down the table. It's your turn. And if somebody wants to interrupt, then they don't get the marker. They just take their action, you resolve it, and you move along. It's very simple. It's very easy to keep track of. If you want to customize it a little bit, you can give a fourth action point or something along those lines. Maybe you want some actions to cost 2 action points. I highly recommend you don't do that. Maybe you want to give 2 free interactions with objects on someone's turn. I don't recommend that either, but there are a few games that do so. 1, 2, 3. There are a few games that do that. This is a very dynamic and elegantly simple initiative system. It handles turn order in a way that makes it so that it's almost impossible for people to be blindsided by events. Even if the game master is going first and there are 10 enemies that take their turns before the PCs can still interrupt them and not get blindsided. At the same time, if the player characters do that to the monsters, it's not going to wipe out the adventure before it even begins. It doesn't break the tension of everything. Certainly you can have surprise rounds and grant the benefits of surprise rounds, but you never have the issue of total imbalance because of a roll of the dice on who goes first. Because even if they go first, you get to choose whether they really go first. And gosh, it just seems like such a simple solution. I hope that you like the idea. If you think that it's a terrible idea, once again, I have 5 other initiative systems. I can present them to you if you like. Or you can explain your favorites down in the comments there. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you next time.